Good morning, everyone. Today we are examining some lessons from Isaiah chapter 59. Now, chapter 59 is interesting as far as its varying perspectives because it doesn't look the exact same way throughout the entire chapter. For instance, in the first 8 verses, you have a discussion of God talking about the relationship with his people and talking about the reasons why they are not receiving the responses that they would like, or the reasons why they're being held accountable for what they've done. And then in verse 9, going down through verse 15, you have it from the perspective of Israel, from the perspective of man, and the things that they have done wrong, and it being an idea of confession of sin. And then in verses 16, or rather the end of verse 15 through verse 21, you have God making a direct statement, as it were, to them of what he saw and how he responded and why. And so you have kind of this back and forth as far as the perspective of the chapter. But let's go through and examine a couple of things that we need to see and that we need to remember from Isaiah chapter 59. The first one is found in the very first 2 verses of the chapter. They're not, for many people, going to be a passage of scripture that they've not heard before. They may not have known exactly where it was found, but it has been heard on many different occasions. Where there Isaiah says, "Behold, the Lord's hand is not shortened, that it cannot save, nor his ear heavy, that it cannot hear. But your iniquities have separated you from your God, and your sins have hidden his face from you, so that he will not hear." When you come to the start of Isaiah chapter 59, we need to remember that it is not that God cannot help. It is not that God doesn't know what's going on and that he cannot hear. But God says, because of your actions, because of the sin that is in your life, because of the wickedness that you have allowed to prevail, I have refused to acknowledge. I have hidden my face from you so that I will not hear. I will not acknowledge. It's not the matter that he doesn't know what's going on, or that he hasn't heard what has been said. It's a question of whether or not he will acknowledge it. And it is the point that, you can't go out and live your life however you want to and then expect God to just all of a sudden pipe up and listen to you the moment things go wrong and you say, "Hey, now I want to pay attention," or "Now I want the favor of God," or "Now I want this, that, or the other." It doesn't work that way. And it never has. You'll oftentimes hear people who have absolutely no care or concern for God whatsoever in the choices that they make in their lives, all of a sudden be wanting God's favor and help in a situation where they have put themselves in a bad place. Now, that's not to mean that God doesn't care about them or that God doesn't want them to do what is right. But God's not just going to automatically pipe up and say, "All right, here I am. I'll give you whatever it is you want," just because we go to him once when we have ignored him throughout our everyday lives. Secondly, when you come down to verses 9 through 11, it is interesting to see the picture that is painted of the people of Israel in their relationship with God. There Isaiah says, "Therefore justice is far from us, nor does righteousness overtake us. We look for light, but there is darkness, for brightness, but we walk in blackness. We grope for the wall like the blind, and we grope as if we had no eyes. We stumble at noonday as at twilight. We are as dead men in desolate places. We all growl like bears and moan sadly like doves. We look for justice, but there is none, for salvation, but it is far from us." We're trying to find the answer. We're trying to get out of our situation. And yet Isaiah says justice is far from us and righteousness does not overtake us because of our sin. We are stumbling about in the dark. We are looking for ways to get ourselves out of this situation. We are trying to maintain our pride and our egos and all of those things that we think are important. And yet there is no justice and there is no salvation because of our sin, because of the choices that we have made, because of our pride, our arrogance, our ego. We need to learn a very important lesson, and that is when it comes to our relationship with God, if we want His help, we have to humble ourselves. We have got to be willing to not say, I have all the answers, I never make mistakes, I am one who is perfect, I don't need God, I don't want God, but then all of a sudden I want God. It doesn't work that way. We have to be those who are humble. We have to be those who bow ourselves to His will if we want His favor and if we want Him to help and to heed us. The last thing I want to point out is down in verse 17, because there's an interesting parallel that I want to draw out for us from here. He says, in speaking of God and the way that He responds to His people, for He put on righteousness as a breastplate and a helmet of salvation on His head. He put on the garments of vengeance for clothing and was clad with zeal as a cloak. It is interesting to note that here God is described as putting on a breastplate of righteousness and a helmet of salvation. You might recognize that in Ephesians chapter 6, when Paul gives the whole armor of God and those instruments with which the Christian is to be girded as the child of God, that among them are the breastplate of righteousness and the helmet of salvation. The point that I want to make is that this is a parallel to what it is stated that God utilizes and what God puts on and wears. And therefore, we are not being asked to put on something that is unique. Instead, we are being asked to put on what God wears. To put on the type of appearance and the type of attitude, the type of heart and the type of dedication that God utilizes. He's not asking us to do something different. He's not asking us to do something that has never been done before. What He's asking us to do is to be like Him in the way that we act and in the way that we approach our lives and our interactions with others. Those are some of the things that I pulled out of Isaiah chapter 59. There's certainly more that we could say, but those are some of the main things that I saw as I studied the chapter. Tomorrow, Lord willing, we will begin an examination of Isaiah chapter 60. But until then, I hope you have a great day.